Can everyone hear me? I'm not going to do what Tim did and get out there and shout. I don't have that kind of voice, but again, my name is Darcy Lewis. I am a junior at RB, and I am a 5th grader at Ames Elementary in District 96. And by profession, once you know he goes to Ames, apparently. By profession, I'm a writer, and I'm a private music teacher. And like the rest of the population, I don't really enjoy getting up and speaking in front of a crowd, but it seemed really important to look my neighbors in the eye and tell them why I'm hoping that they will field a yes vote for this referendum. I like RB. Do I think RB is a perfect school? No, I don't. Do I think it's a very good school? Yes, I think it is a very good school. And one of the things that I, as a parent, really appreciate is kind of the culture of caring that has grown up. And that sounds very soft and squishy and new agey. But to explain what I mean by that, one of my favorite events is We Are RB, which is for the entering freshmen when they're still in 8th graders. And you walk into your gym, and it's just full of card tables, and every group comes out, and they really want to convince this 8th grader that they're the best group, and this other 8th grader to sign up with them. And when my son, who's now a junior, was that age, we went there. He had a pretty good idea that he wanted to play chess and he wanted to sing. And for him, meeting those chess players and having them welcome him, and he could just sit down and play a game of chess with them on the spot, just made him feel so welcome and like he had a home before he'd even gotten there. And when I think about the proposed cuts, come 2012, 2013, without additional funding support from us, from the community, that gym is pretty much going to be empty because of the need to eliminate extracurriculars. And I think that is really not the direction that any of us want our children to be going. Another event that I really enjoy every year at RB is parent-teacher conferences. And that also happens in the gym, and that also involves a lot of card tables. And each teacher sits and waits for parents to come and talk to him or her about the student. And I like that. I hear a lot of things I already know about my son, but I also hear some things that I don't every year. And I just like seeing the whole effect. The teaching core at RB is very young and noticeably enthusiastic, and I really like that. One of my favorite moments was last year when I went, when I talked to one of my son's teachers, and he said a couple of things, and probably the 20th word out of his mouth was, I want you to know that your son does his Rubik's Cube every day in my class. He does it under the desk. And I want you to know, I know why he does it. He's the kind of kid where his hands need to be occupied so he can focus on what I'm saying. He doesn't bother anybody else. I just want you to know, I know about it and I'm okay with it. And, I would have kissed the guy's feet at that moment, right? I mean, to have somebody, who really makes it a point to understand the needs and the learning styles of individual children is a gift. And that's the kind of thing that's really hard to quantify in a situation like this when we're talking about money, lots of money coming out of all of our pockets. But that's the kind of thing that can also be lost pretty easily. It's not going to take too much in the way of a period of underfunding. For example, if the class sizes are raised, that same teacher now, he teaches 6 periods a day, say he has 5 more students, that's 30 more kids that he's dealing with every day. So is he going to have the mental energy to notice that my kid needs to move his hands in order to focus with his brain? He may. He's a good teacher, but he may not. And that's the kind of gamble that I'm hoping that we really don't want to make. I think we have a good thing going, and I hope that, that we can all find it within us to offer that support. In talking with Tim about what would be helpful for me to say tonight, I realized what he said was very true, and that is that we've all gone to high school, and we all know what our own experiences were like. And it's easy to extrapolate that to what happens now, but it did get me thinking about my experience, and you know what, it was bad. I mean, it was really bad. I grew up near Detroit. I was in high school during the recession in the early 1980s. And that was the recession that ended the idea of lifetime employment. Doesn't exist anymore, and that was when it first became apparent, you know, you really can't go and work for the same company for 30 years anymore. They're not going to be loyal to you. And the parents of my classmates, they worked at the GM Proving Grounds as engineers, or they worked at the Willow Run or Wixom assembly plants, or they worked for automotive suppliers. But basically, everybody who wasn't a teacher or a doctor or a dentist worked in the auto industry. And I've heard a lot of adults around me making comments like, well, we just hang on for a while, and then life is going to be back to normal as we know it. And, you know, that didn't really happen. I mean, it just didn't. You know, Michigan is still losing population. The auto industry is still shrinking. It's a generation later. And I didn't know anything about business then, but, you know, as a teenager, I'm kind of doing the math, and I'm thinking, so many people have lost their jobs. How can this industry reabsorb them? And, you know, it didn't. And I think that was it was a challenging situation, and I would hate to see that kind of situation be set up where people are so set in the path that they're taking in life that they're not able to adapt. The way that society has become in the last couple of decades is basically changes like the air we breathe. And adaptation to life is an absolute necessity, no matter who you are or what you do. And that raises the question, how do we as adults learn to cope with our ever-changing environment? And I think that a lot of the answer is found in raising well-educated and well-rounded adults. And then the next question is, how do we do that? I think a lot of that answer hinges on by developing the whole person during the teen years and the years thereafter, and by helping them find their passions in life. And I think that, maybe again, that sounds kind of soft and new agey, but I think that when you have things in your life that you really love, it helps you develop the internal resources and the gumption to reinvent yourself as often as you need to throughout your life, no matter what happens. To me, that's worth a yes vote. Will our kids lose that ability without the funding? Probably not, but I don't really want to take the chance. So I'm looking y'all in the face and just saying,